President Trump is suspending most of the tariffs on Mexico after he spoke with President Claudia Sheinbaum from Mexico. The agreement is in place until April 2nd. Now, according to a White House official, Mexico presented Trump with tangible evidence that there's been an increase in fentanyl seizures in the last 30 days and demonstrated real commitment to focus on curtailing cartels and drug trafficking. The president put out a Truth Social on this. I'm going to ask our team if we can get that and put it up. I believe the tariff exemptions, Brian, pertain to the USMCA. The USMCA was a huge deal that Trump put together. Ironically, the USMCA came together after he threatened tariffs against Mexico. Those tariffs were averted. This was when AMLO was the president of Mexico. And the USMCA replaced NAFTA. And we're going to pull up this Truth Social in just a moment. However, it's the USMCA that I believe is exempt from the tariffs.
Right. So sometimes there's conflicting messaging come from the White House. In the beginning, it is we want to balance trade. There's some inequities, and we're tired of doing that. You have to tariff us, we're going to tariff you. But for the most part, the prevailing theme is if we're going to stop fentanyl, it's going to go against the three countries most responsible for flooding it into our country: Canada, China, the precursors, and Mexico, where the pills are pressed and they flood across. But now they've made hundreds of arrests over the weekend. They also flew those convicted criminals, cartel members, into our country. Many people thought that was impossible. And then, of course, we're seeing the trickle of people coming across the border from our southern border. And then you wonder, too, what are they doing on their southern border? Remember, they put 20,000 Marines when you were with the Trump administration. They must be doing something, because it's definitely helping us seal it off, which makes you think that there's less fentanyl getting across. And she was able to make that case today. So the president, take the win. This seems to be a win.
It does. You know, Emily, I'm looking at the Truth Social now, and it is pertaining to the USMCA. He said, I have agreed Mexico will not be required to pay tariffs on anything that falls under the USMCA agreement. This agreement is until April 2nd. So you see this here, and I wanted to bring up this point about deadlines. I think it's important. Trump got a lot of criticism from the media. You know, how dare he put these tariffs in place as he did just this week? But I think it mattered that he had a deadline, that he put the tariffs in place to show I'm not bluffing here. And when I say April 2nd, there's a new deadline, and you better abide by it.
And I think this also illustrates further that what we had in the prior administration was simply talk, right? We had tough talk, don't, and everything, but it wasn't backed up by any type of specificity. It wasn't backed up by deterrence, and it wasn't backed up by an articulable consequence at any point. So here is what you have, the opposite of that, and that's what brings results. And I also think that this is an example of the diplomacy of this president that the Democrat Party continues to sort of, I think, rob him of acknowledgement for. Diplomacy is not always some type of entrenched, decades-long experience in federal government that automatically makes you qualified to do so. Diplomacy is simply having a high EQ and understanding relationships with other leaders. That includes what the push factors and what the pull factors are, incentives and deterrence and consequences. And so I see here that he's demonstrating with every relationship the understanding of our relationship with a country, of the ill effects of open, porous borders and lax rules and zero enforcement, but also an acknowledgement that, look, there's a new sheriff in town. I'm prioritizing Americans, and I respect your position as president or prime minister or the like, but that doesn't come without a higher respect from my own people.
You know, and we know the perilous nature of red lines. We saw that with Obama. Unenforced red lines are a problem. President Trump has drawn red lines, dates, deadlines, and enforced them. And with that comes efficacy, comes results, as we see with Sheinbaum on the phone.
Well, I think you nailed the word that maybe perhaps led to this change, the word results. And it's very interesting to see, because the same sort of demands were put on Canada. I just got back from Canada, and they were trying very hard to meet some of the requests, or all of the requests, really, that President Trump had put in them to create a fentanyl czar position, which they did. The fentanyl czar just came to Washington along with the Minister of Public Safety to try and work with Washington and show the Trump administration that we're doing what's being asked. So I'm interested to see that if Canada could do what Mexico has apparently done here in the last 24 hours and shown the results from all of those efforts, from all of the things that they agreed to do, that perhaps they're working, if they could end up with a similar result. We'll see.
Riley, and just a note on Justin Trudeau, who earlier in the week chose to pick a fight with President Trump. And I think this is a unique scenario, because you have Claudia Sheinbaum, you have these other leaders who want to be reelected. Trudeau's on his way out. There are no political consequences for him to pick this fight, and you wonder if he's going to do it on the backs of Canadians.
Yeah, we will see. But to your point, we have a real leader back in the White House. A new sheriff is in town. And President Trump spoke of this in his joint address to Congress. He mentioned, in talking actually about the border bill, he said, look, Biden was begging for a border bill. Turns out we didn't need a new border bill. We needed someone in office to enforce what we already have. And that's what President Trump has done. Of course, you see these conversations this past week with Zelensky. He earns that respect from other world leaders. So we'll see what Trudeau does.
You know, Riley, what I'd love to see if you do seal the border. We never got to the point where we seal the border. But if you ever want to do comprehensive immigration reform, and there's some stuff both sides will agree on in terms of our first-round draft picks coming out of Stanford and our great chemists and engineers, instead of letting them go back to whatever their countries are, maybe give them an opportunity to come here. Let's debate that. Make it easier if you marry someone from another country to be able to make them citizens, what they have to do, what they have to pay, how long they have to wait. That's an issue. But we never got to the point where we seal the border. We might be at the point in a year where the border is actually sealed and we can move this conversation forward.
Yeah, that's right. We did not need a border bill. We needed a new president, which is exactly what you cited there, Riley.